Looks like I'm on the overview page where I have the option to create a workflow. That is strange. I would think the channel ID in one of the files for downloading the transcripts, or it would be in the .env file. But if you cannot find it, I will get it for you. Is this what you're looking for, or do I need to go into my profile to find the actual ID? When you ran that search for the channel ID, Visual Studio Code popped open. Were you aware that would happen, or what caused it to happen? So it was an unintended consequence of an unquoted string with spaces around it. Bash did not parse it as one value, so that may have triggered the code argument and opened up Visual Studio Code. So what is the fix? I'll switch to a safer execution method. So it's gonna remember from now on to do it in a much safer way. So I'm gonna create a new workflow. Scroll back up to the first command. If I can find it again, what the first thing it wants me to do after opening the page up, just squeeze this down a little bit more to give me a tiny bit more space to work with. So I've gone a little bit too high. There we go. Now in n8n, the first thing to do, click on the plus button on the canvas, search for scheduled trigger, start that, there it goes. And schedule trigger, see, there we go, schedule trigger, go away nag screen, set it to run weekly, every Monday at 7 a.m. Weeks, 1 week between triggers, switch it to Monday, 7 a.m. So that part's done. Let me expand the screen so we can see if there's anything else I need to do. What that does, execute it successfully. No settings to modify it again. Close. Okay, we got the first piece done. Setting the schedule. Let's move it over here. I only wish I had a bigger monitor. Scoot it back over there so we can have both. I have to do a little overlap. Alrighty, add another node. Well, it says add another node, but it doesn't say what kind of node. I have set up the schedule trigger, tested successfully, ready for the next node. What do I search for? Alright, you can do searching for HTTP request. There we go. HTTP request, URL, method get, it's already there, URL, so just need that. Paste that in there. I think I may have gotten more than I expected. No, maybe not, just because it's word wrapping. I'm going to stop the video now so that I can put the API key in there and expose it to the public. I have filled in the fields in order not to expose my API key. I've switched from the parameters field where the key goes to the settings field, so it's behind that tab. That was the only thing I had to do, was to go into the main Claude Code folder, open up the .env file where all my API keys and passwords sit, copied and pasted it into that one section right here. I overwrote that part right there with my actual API key. Other than changing to the settings tab, I have made no other changes. I haven't tried anything. I haven't tried to execute it, so I didn't want to do anything off camera. I wanted it to be a real step-by-step tutorial for the novice who hasn't done this before. So just like before, I'm going to run the execute button to see what happens. Make sure it works. Looks like it worked. Looks like it pulled in all the videos from the past 7 days. Total results 6. So let me close this since it worked and let Claude know API key has been inserted. The test was run, came back successful. It pulled back 6 videos that were published in the last 7 days. Good. Now add the second HTTP request node after that one. I guess I need more area. There we go. Oh, HTTP request. Same thing. The default setting is get, if you remember the previous setup. So I just copy that, paste it in here, and then I'll have to put in my API key again. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to stop the recording, put the API key in, switch to the settings tab, test it. So you need to always be careful with your API keys. If you even think you might have exposed it to the public, you need to immediately reset your API keys. Oh, so they say second verse, same as the first. This is where I just left off. I have simply switched tabs. The parameters right here is what has my API key in it. So if I switched over to that, you would see the same URL I just copied into it, but my API key would be visible. So let's execute a step, and looks like it was successful, even though it did not pull anything back. It did work. Let's close that one. Gotta verify with Claude that part is done. Same deal. Make sure I followed all the instructions here. Same deal. Paste your real key in directly. Pulls the video ID from whatever item was currently flowing through. Since the previous node returned 6 videos, well, there was no results returned. So I grabbed the wrong edge. Let's see if I can get this one to expand. So Claude is saying there should have been 6 results returned because the first HTTP request pulled in 6 videos. That did not happen. So I got to ask Claude why it did not work. It came back with 0 results, and it should have come back with 6 different snippets. The test for the second node showed successful, but it had 0 results. I ran only the one test on the very first node for the HTTP request, which pulled in the 6 videos. Then I created the second node and ran it and got 0 results, as did I actually drag the connector line from the first node to the second. When I created the second node for the HTTP request, I clicked the plus button at the end of the line on the right-hand side of the first HTTP request node. I'm going to verify that, yep, see, they are connected. If this was just floating here by itself and this little green line didn't exist, then I would say they're not connected. All right, that's good catch on the wiring. That's not it then. I think the actual bug, the first HTTP node response is one big JSON object with an items array inside of it, not 6 separate items that n8n split apart automatically. So when node 2 tried to read the JSON, it was looking for an ID at the top level, the response which doesn't exist here. So the cleaner fix is trying to split it into 6. The cleaner fix, rather than trying to split it into 6 separate items, add a code node. The poet didn't know it. Between the HTTP nodes that pulls in all 6 video IDs, joins them into one comma separated string. Then node 2 takes the single API call for all 6 videos at once instead of 6 separate calls. Matches the original design better. So add a code node. Let's see about adding a code node. Let's trash that. A code node. Is there a code node? I think that is what it's talking about. Let me verify just to be sure. I'm trying to act like a newbie on this so that if you're new to this, you know how to troubleshoot it as well. What is the exact code node I should be searching for? I see different code options for the node. What I think is the correct one is the one that says code, and it has a set of brackets in front of the word code. The actions available is to either code in JavaScript or code in Python. So it says I have got the correct code node, and it wants me to select the JavaScript option because that's what the script it had provided me with. So this is the actual JavaScript up here where I'm still used to right-clicking and clicking copy. It's a hard habit to break. So whenever I highlight something in the terminal here, it automatically copies it. Let's see if I do anything else. Let's see if there's any other commands. I have chosen the code node that you specified. I have selected language as JavaScript. The mode is run once for all items. I copied and pasted the JavaScript exactly as you printed it on the screen into the JavaScript window. All that's left to do is to press the test button. Go ahead and press it. The big shiny red button reminds me of a Ren and Stimpy episode where they were in space called Space Madness, and Stimpy wanted to press the big red button. Execute. Let's see what it says here. Video IDs. Is there more than one? Can I shrink that? Yeah, it looks like one with commas between them. You may not be able to see it, but they're commas. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like there's 5 IDs. I was expecting 6, but maybe there was really only 5. Or maybe there is 6 here and I just miscounted. The text is kind of small, and even with glasses on, it's hard to detect those little commas between the IDs. Oh, let me close this out so I don't lose anything. So I gotta figure out how to make this range so it looks kind of nice and understandable, but at the same time lets me add more stuff to it. Of course, I have to add this to it. Let's see if I can just go ahead and connect. Yeah, it's connected to it fine. I think I'm gonna try dragging this up here. I do not like how messy this is getting, but it's gonna maybe it'll look okay if I put the next node here, and it's kind of, I don't like this. I want it all vertically aligned in the flow pattern, down, up, so just a personal quirk, but this may work too. It came back with multiple IDs returned. I wasn't able to accurately count them because the text was so small, but there was more than one item, at least 5, and I connected this last code node to the HTTP request node, so it looks like everything is arranged and in order and everything is connected. Just need to test the last HTTP request to see if it returns any information about each one of the videos. So there is something to be edited. Let's see if it can deactivate. I have gone in there to this last node for the second HTTP request. I can't show it to you because I can't show you the change where I substituted this for this in the JavaScript because it'll expose my key. So you just have to take my word for it that I have swapped them out, and I'm going to run the test. Dang, touchy, can't quite grab the edge. Execute step, so this should show the results. There we go. That's what should be showing. Items, tags, the description, that was not there before. Everything in here was empty. So we got the proper thing set up. Let's close that. Make sure that everything is saved so that I don't mess something up by accident by leaving it open too long. Let's let Claude know the test was successful. All the changes have been made. I have swapped out part of the JavaScript so that it now reads .video IDs as you instructed. Ran the test. It came back with the descriptions and other details about each one of the videos. At this point, I'm wishing I had set up the voice option to speak back. As part of the Jarvis build, I have the voice feature working, but I haven't tried using it with Claude yet. Claude. When I spin up Jarvis, that is actually Claude speaking, but it's in a different window. So it really is Claude talking, but it's talking in the voice of Jarvis. Anyway, right now I'm wishing I had that interactive feature. I will integrate it later on. We'll figure that one out on a different on the second part of the Jarvis project once we get the front end built. So let's see what's next. Before I get off on too deep of a tangent, do you see statistics for each objects like view count, link count? Yes, I saw that. Descriptions that came along with it, but the numbers are the main point. Format mode is the next step. A code node that turns the raw JSON into a clean markdown report. So we can grab another code node. It's right here. JavaScript again, I'm assuming. We'll figure that out in a minute. I'm sure it's got to be JavaScript. Let's see here. What is the next part? It's difficult for me to keep track of where I am on the screen because of the way the text is written on here. I wish it was in bullet point format. It'd be much easier. I guess I could tell it to do that. You can always tell Claude that you want things reformatted for easier reading. It's going to keep going the way I am right now. Code node that returns a raw JSON in clean markdown format. Given buffers analytics access is still unverified because I'm not on a paid plan. I don't think I can access buffers analytics. Skip the buffer mode for now. Ship the YouTube only version 1 first. Simpler. Yes, that's what I want. I want the MVP, minimum viable product. Build it, ship it, refine it later. And I'll tell, go ahead and we skip the buffer. We want the minimum viable product as fast as possible. Cool. Let's see here. Let's go back up. Add in the code node, which is I just did that. Got a head start on Claude's instructions. So it says after the videos.list HTTP node. That's where we just were. That's the node we just finished up on. I want this to be JavaScript, which I clicked on already. It's right there, JavaScript. Run once for all items. That's already defaulted. All I have to do so far is copy this entire thing. It is copied 540 characters. Make sure you grab that little ending character. Otherwise, I have a bad day. I use the copy and paste keyboard option rather than trying to highlight and miss something. So Control A, Control V, and let's see. Everything is done in your instructions. I verified all the settings look good. Copied and pasted the JavaScript field. Just waiting for your go ahead to test it. Go ahead and test it. It should return a report holding the markdown report as a single string. Dang it. I wish this thing was so persnickety there. So we should see a single string returned. Code does not return items. There we go. Let's just copy this error, give it to Claude to diagnose. Most likely there is a different way of writing this JavaScript. He may have used an older, out-of-date JavaScript. He may have just made a mistake based on his training parameters. So I just pasted that in there. Let's see what he comes back with. That's not unusual to have to go through the code iterations several times to get it working properly. It really depends on the platform, what kind of language format they accept. Let's see here. That specific error usually means the field has something extra in it, like a triple backtick markdown. So it got 3 ticks around a code block, got copied along with it by accident. Since I wrapped that snippet in a code block for readability, that would break the syntax parser expects and can surface. So it gave me the new version of the code. Start at the top, go down here to the last. Oh, I see what I actually think I may have left off that last line. I got stuck on this curly bracket here and didn't pay attention. See, I didn't do it. That's the missing part, that last line. So let's make sure when I paste it this time that it has the return value. So it was on me. It was me not being precise enough in my looking at the screen. That's why I really wish that I could blow this thing up much bigger to something like font size 15 or 16. It should work now. There we go. That's exactly what it was looking for. A single string. Now I gotta come clean with Claude and tell him honestly it was my fault. I'm gonna go ahead and close this out just to make sure I don't accidentally kill something, mess something up. Here's where it starts to get looking ugly. I don't like that, but I don't know how to force that green line to come up here between the blocks. I would like it to so it doesn't cross the streams. That's a Ghostbusters reference. Don't cross the streams. I have to admit the problem was my fault. I did not notice the line after the last curly bracket. So the line that starts with the label return or the word return, I didn't copy that. So I missed the last line of the JavaScript block. It now returns a single string of information as expected. Tested successfully. Oh, it gives me, it's giving me a break. It's not chiding me, but I wouldn't expect it to anyway. He's very forgiving. Claude is very forgiving, unless you tell it to be. You can tell Claude to have a different personality. I've done that just to play with different personalities. I actually gave it the personality of some of my favorite characters from different books. So what is the next one? One more node. If I'm reading this correctly. One last node. Add a write file or a read write file node. Make sure I get that right. So I got the bad habit. I clicked on it with my right mouse button, even though it was already copied. So let's go again. Other item. Looking for the, there it is. Read write. What is the option here? Read write. After this code node, search file and pick the write binary to file 1. I may not have the right one. It was the only option I had, I think. Read write files from disk, write files to disk. So maybe it needs to be, I can copy these. On my big bunch, it's actually meaning write binary file to disk is that one, the second one, write file to disk. Let me make sure. The options under read write files from disk are as follows. Read files from disk or write files from disk. That's the only two options, and that is exactly how they are worded. That is the right one, pick write files to disk. So yep, just a little bit of difference in nomenclature. One extra step needed. That node needs to write binary file data, not plain string text. So we need to convert the report string into a binary file object first. Go back and add a convert file node between the code node and this write node. I think what I'm going to do first though is, if it's got any instructions for this, specific instructions, I'm going to put those in here so I don't forget to go back. See, did I scroll up too far? I don't see the previous instructions anymore. It's just my eyesight. I'm going to go ahead and close that out. I'm going to detach that, add a new convert file node. See if it got convert. There we go. I think that's what it wanted. Make sure convert JSON data to binary data. Make sure convert the report string into a binary file. So that's exactly what it's looking for right there. And does it say exactly to text file? Convert to text file. There it is. Bottom text file. Cool. Source field is report. So let's drag the field over. We got that. File name, something like weekly report MD. I'm not going to try to figure out a different naming system. There, output file into field. We can confirm that that is where the actual name of the report goes. And how do I tell Claude this exactly? Parameters. I'm on the parameters tab of this convert to file. I have the operation is convert to text file. Text input field is report. Put output file in field. Is that where I put the name of the report? The weekly-youtube-report.md file name, or does something else go into the put output file in field box? I may have to add an option down here to actually put the file name. So let's see what Claude says. It's not asking for, it's asking for what the resulting binary data should be named internally, so the node knows where to find it. Leave it as default. I don't think it had a default, so let's just call it data since it's going to require something. So yes, it's usually data, but it wasn't written in there, so it was a suggestion. It was not hard coded in there. go somewhere else. Check to confirm has a separate file name field. Options, add option, file name. There we go. That's exactly what I was looking for. I did find I had to click on the add options button. File name was one of the options. So I have did that option, and I need to put the actual file name in there because I messed up and used the previously copied information, which I copied that off of this screen and forgot that I had changed my clipboard contents. So there we go. Everything is filled in as you specified. Ready for testing. Go ahead and test it. Let's see what happens. Cool. Looks like it was successful. I can either view it or I can download it. Test was successful. Came back with file name, file extension, MIME type, file size. I can either view the output file or I can download it. It says successful, confirms that it is producing a valid binary file. Now add the right files to disk node right after this one. So we're done with that. Actually, I want to view it. Let's see what's in the file. Expand this a little bit. Weekly YouTube report, the date on it. 5 videos published this week. So I was right about the count, even though I thought there were 6. Building Jarvis, phase 1, Jarvis first words. That is the latest one, I believe. Feeding the squirrels. So this is the newest video on my channel. That looks good. Let's close that. We have to clean this. Oh, wait a second. I want to clean it up a bit. So we have the read-write files to disk. I got to connect that, make it look pretty. Let's get this one over here. It's looking yucky, but my space is limited. Connect it. It's connected. As I was saying, I wish I had a bigger monitor, more room to look at everything cleanly. I need to open that up to configure it. Write files to disk. That's what it wanted. File path name. We have not that path in. Put the path in. Input binary field. So that's the word data by default. That's already in there, so that's good. Wired in after convert file, so that's done. Check that the folder after it actually has the empty file. That's the real proof the whole chain works end to end, not just in node in isolation. Botch that sentence. Let's expand that a bit. Execute the step. File or directory does not exist. Maybe the file name is incorrect. Let's look at the very end of that. Throw this error. Maybe this research folder does not exist yet. That out of the way. Node type, version, stack trace. The file or directory does not exist. So, well, of course, the file doesn't exist yet because it hadn't been written there. I'd be willing to bet that if I were to try to navigate there, that this research folder doesn't exist. So it's trying to write a file to a directory that does not exist. Let's open up File Explorer. Let's blow that up. Let's see about, is there I forgot the name of the folder, a research folder. There is a research folder. Is there? What happened? Oh, it says ICP reach. Oh no, I'm in the research folder now. Well, let's give, oh, it says research reports. I think that is a missing folder. That's research. There is no research reports folder. I'm gonna go ahead and build that folder. Let me get the exact name. Reports. Instead of actually having Claude diagnose the problem, I'm just gonna see if this will work. Circumvent all that time wasted testing to see if this works. Having Claude step me through something I can probably figure out myself. This is just the quickest way to test it. See if this is a simple solution. Looks like it worked. Let's see if there's there it is. So that's the problem. The folder was not actually created ahead of time. I will update Claude so that it knows exactly what happened. And the solution, go ahead and close that. And if I'm guessing wrong, I'm right. We're done. This is the whole process from start to end. Let me tell Claude. There was an error returned that basically said it was trying to write to a folder or a file that didn't exist. I opened up the full file path to the research folder. The reports folder did not exist yet. We had not built it, not created it. So I created the reports folder, ran the test again. The file appeared in the reports folder as expected. Successful test. I closed out the node. What is next? 2 things left. Run one full end-to-end test. Click on the schedule trigger node and use its test workflow feature, not just testing the individual nodes. So the whole chain runs together in one pass. I hope that this is my own opinion. I hope that it overwrites the existing file, doesn't throw an error because the file name is the same without date timestamp on it. Then save it and activate it. Once that toggle is on, the schedule trigger will actually fire. on its own on the weekly schedule. So let's go ahead and test the workflow. Come on now, get over there. Of the way. Oops, let's try to get that all in frame. Execute workflow. Workflow executed successfully, so the file should have the timestamp of 5:18 p.m. Open that back up. 5:18 p.m. matches up. Confirm that it did work. Save and activate it. I guess I gotta publish it. So let's Claude what it wants to name it so that it can document it for later retrieval if needed. End-to-end test was successful. I verified the file with the correct timestamp was in the folder. Time on the computer clock matched the time of creation for the file. Now I'm to the publish workflow stage. I need a name for the version of the workflow. I was going to ask you for the name since you will be documenting this and tracking it. What name would you like me to name the file or name the workflow? Weekly YouTube content report. Matches how it's already described in the design documentation and memory. So everything is consistent. Publish. Workflow published. Your schedule trigger will now trigger executions on the schedule you have defined. Got it. Looks like it published successfully. It said the trigger was set up and would trigger on the date and time scheduled. So Claude is updating the hot state file, which is its memory for what just happened, to keep track of what's happening in the session. Then it's also updating the session log, which is the long-term recording documentation of everything that's been happening, so that between the two documents, I don't lose the long-term context and I don't lose the short-term context either, so it can keep track of where we are in this conversation. Just in case I go off on a tangent, it can go back to where we were. It's live. It's alive. The first real n8n build shipped end-to-end activated schedules will run weekly with zero manual work from here. Memory files updated, hot state session log done. Genuinely a good elevator pitch material now too. Since it's no longer designed, it's built, it's tested, and it's running. And I'm going to ask for Claude's final thoughts. I don't know why I typed it rather than using voice to text, but I did. Let's see what he has to say. I'm always interested to see what Claude's thinking. From today, real automation built from scratch, live and running, not a mock-up, not a designed to be determined. A weekly report that pulls real data, formats it, saves itself with zero more manual work required. Every bug hit along the way, the wiring, nested array gotcha, the missing return sentence at the end of the JavaScript, the disk path got fixed in the moment in front of the recording, which is honestly better proof of real skill than a clean manual run would have been. Nobody's workflow works on the first try, showing the actual troubleshooting is the more credible artifact. That's a wrap from my end. So, could you create, I guess what I'm looking for is a recap of everything that happened during this session as a screenshot or a thumbnail so that people could read it as though it was a closing screenshot. I'm not sure exactly how to ask the question correctly, but it's just basically a nicely formatted, easily read description of what the project was about, the components of the project, the issues encountered, final resolution, ending with the successful test to see what Claude comes up with. Sometimes I don't know exactly how to phrase the prompt correctly to get what I'm looking for, but Claude is already familiar with my YouTube video styles and things like that, and creating real motion graphics, so he has a good idea of exactly what I'm looking for, because we already did this once before. If he looks at the right files, he has to find the right memories, and oftentimes he just figures it out. See, he's looking the skill file, he's reading that to figure out the artifact design skill file. Still thinking. He's really thinking. I'm publishing it as an artifact so he can view and screenshot it directly. So he's gonna have to get permission to write it. It may have taken me a little bit more seriously than I was actually wanting it to. Looks like he actually published it to a web page, a build report card. Open it, resize your window as needed, screenshot it for the thumbnail. See here, I'm going to have to copy that. Copied over here, paste it, see if it opens up properly. There we go. The weekly YouTube content report. So here's what happened. Scheduled trigger, scheduled the YouTube search, extracted the video IDs, fetched the stats, formatted the reports, converted to a file. Wrote the file to a disk. Issues encountered, end-to-end test has passed. It's a pretty nice card. That was a whole lot more than what I was expecting. I really was just expecting him to do something in the session screen over here. but he took liberty of doing something a little bit nicer. Anyway, that's a wrap.